Joining us now is NBC News legal analyst Misty Marris. Misty, thank you for being here. Big news here on a case that so many people have been paying close attention to. He was asked in court back then if he was pleading guilty under pressure or duress. He said no. We heard him admit to those murders. So how difficult is it to essentially reverse that now?
It's going to be incredibly difficult. In order to do so, he would have to show what's called a manifest injustice. So just to lay the foundation, when he pled guilty, he waived his right to an appeal. But constitutionally, there's an avenue that remains open to any criminal defendant, and that's to seek post-conviction relief. So you see that with ineffective assistance of counsel, which seems to be a primary factor of his argument here, saying he was coerced into pleading guilty, there were false promises, and that's the basis that he set forth in this notice. But this is not just buyer's regret, guys. It can't just be my lawyers presented me with options and I'm unhappy with the one that I chose. There would have to be some really black and white evidence of misconduct, coercion, something that happened behind the scenes. So this is a really tough haul.
Kohberger said that he prepared this challenge on his own. I remember a defense expert had once suggested perhaps multiple people did commit this crime here. Could that be part of his argument? So
first you have that ineffective assistance of counsel argument that it basically says his plea deal, he didn't enter into it voluntarily. But then there's another piece that he raises in this notice. And by the way, he would have to extrapolate this and lay out the facts that support his position in this notice. This is the very first step. But that's what he has raised as actual innocence and exculpatory evidence that was withheld from him at the time of the trial. So what does that mean? Well, that opens up the avenue to potentially lay out some of those alternative theories. And that's where you could see that coming into play with respect to this petition seeking post-conviction relief.
Let's just say this works out for him. What does that mean? We see a full trial with a jury?
Yeah, so first step would be, now we have the notice, he's preserving his right to move forward. Then you'd see briefs, and you'd see the DA contesting it, would go to the judge, maybe go to a higher court. If he were to be successful, it would be a new trial. But guess what? That plea deal would be null and void, so the death penalty could be back on the table.
Walk us through how the process works from here. He has filed this, so what would happen? And if he doesn't get his way, is that even something that can be appealed?
So what's interesting is that this case will first go to Judge Hippler. Who's Judge Hippler? The one that he looked in the eyes and said, this was voluntary, I did it, and I was not coerced and my lawyers were sufficient. If he's not successful there, it could go up to a higher court.
Misty, we heard from the family essentially saying that this is just more coming back to kind of haunt us, in other words. What do you think could be going on behind the scenes here that Bryan decides to make a decision like this at this point after this amount of time?
So first, I feel for the families, because I know that it was controversial at the time to enter into the plea deal. Some families were in support, some were not. But one thing that it gets is finality. And now that finality has been disrupted. Right. But from Kohberger, what we've seen since he pled guilty and he's been behind bars, he's made multiple complaints about the conditions. And so now he's facing a lifetime, no possibility of parole, no possibility of getting out. And it seems he's picked the one avenue to kind of maybe become a lawyer behind the scenes and pursue this post-conviction relief. So it will have to go through the process, and that whether or not it's ultimately going to be successful, highly unlikely, but the process still remains. So the families will have to be there to watch it and watch it unfold.
All right. Misty Marris, thank you so much.
Thank you.